Hey, deserving listeners, The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Let's watch.
Very politely that your opinion of me does not matter to me.
But you don't know my opinion of you.
You're better off saying it.
Hold
Am
on.
I wrong?
Wait.
She's 100%
Stop it.
right here.
Hold on.
She's
I've said-
100%
Hold on.
right.
Hold on.
No, wait
Hold
a
on.
minute.
I'm speaking
Excuse
for
me,
myself.
I have the
Let her
bell.
I don't give a what
Speak.
you have. I don't give a what
You know
you
what,
have.
Erica? You have to stop speaking to me like
No,
that.
I don't.
You do.
All right, so I haven't actually been reacting. There's been a number of episodes over the past few weeks, and I've been watching, but haven't really felt that I have anything to offer the internet in terms of reacting. So I feel like maybe I have something to say now, which is that Erika, on the left here, has been experiencing some very difficult times. I don't know if I've shown any clips, but her husband, so on the surface, the story is that they were getting a divorce. She moved out, and she had to kind of sneak out, I believe, because she was worried about his reaction. He's a lot older, and he's a high-powered lawyer, I believe. And up until that point, he had claimed that he was a champion of the poor and the needy. And then after the divorce, it starts to come out that he's being sued, I believe, or implicated in criminal charges, some kind of indictment of his past behavior, of him embezzling money, of fraud, of, I can't remember all the allegations, but it looked really awful. Also of him cheating on Erika here. And Erika is moving on. She's getting a divorce, but she's still kind of entangled with him, and she's shocked at the allegations being made about her soon-to-be ex-husband. And she's starting to make some claims that a few years ago he was in an accident, had a head injury, and he seemed to act different after that. Then it starts to come out in the media that she, Erika, might also be to blame for the fraud and for the illegal and financial fraud problems. And there's all this talk, and Erika is very worried. There's all this attacking that's going on the internet, a lot of people assuming things that they don't really know that much about. From what I can tell, there's, the investigation is ongoing, and there's not much that we can say. We can say that, well, there's some allegations, but people should be, considered innocent until proven guilty, and so we just don't know. It seemed likely that her husband was up to something. It didn't. Erika was claiming she was innocent, but people had questions. And sometimes, the Real Housewives would talk about it, and some of them would say things like, well, the fact that you're married to him, you are guilty by association, which is not legal, one, and two, I don't think that makes any sense to me. If my wife secretly embezzles money or secretly commits some sort of crime, and I have no idea that it's happening, then I'm not to blame for that. And vice versa. If I commit some secret crime, my wife shouldn't go to prison, and she certainly shouldn't be accused of being complicit in the crime by the public. So I didn't really understand that idea. It almost seemed kind of like victim blaming to some extent. But anyway, so that was my reaction to that. Then Sutton comes forward and starts to say, you know what, I think some of Erika's stink here is starting to rub off on us, including me, and I don't want that. Because in today's cancel culture, they talked about that. We could all be dragged down with Erika if we don't come out strong and say that what she did was wrong, even though she hasn't been found guilty. So because if they're in that limbo zone, and there's a lot of people in the public saying Erika is guilty and she's a terrible person, and I think Sutton was worried about that. So Sutton starts to come forward and say, I have questions. I don't know what's happening, but I have questions. I wonder about things. And it seemed a little short-sighted, a little premature to jump to conclusions. I don't know all the details that they know, but Sutton and some others, I believe Dorit also, were wanting to distance themselves from Erika, which I have to say is a pretty dishonorable thing to do. When your friend, now if they're not friends, if Sutton and Erika are not friends, then I guess what's the diff? But there are many scenes where they're talking about how they are friends and how they are connected. And if your friend is being, indicted or accused of something, and there's no direct evidence that they did it, and they claim innocence, then you should stand by them. Not all the time, of course, but you shouldn't just selfishly say, I'm going to, throw you under the bus because of I want to preserve my own, image or something. And I find that to be pretty deplorable, honestly. If I was to be accused of something falsely and I claimed innocence and there was no evidence that demonstrated my guilt and all of my friends just ditched me, I mean, wow, right? So, and then some of the friends here were wanting to stick by Erika. I will say they weren't being very adamant about that, but they were kind of saying, I think Kyle was saying she wanted to stick by Erika. Now, Erika has an interesting personality, and Sutton does too. Erika, throughout all of this, she has, it's really challenged her presentation. I think she's used to being the strong one, the independent one, the one who isn't flustered. I think that's how she sees herself. But through all this stress, she's been crying, she's been dependent, she's been needy, which of course would be natural for her. And I have seen some evidence that she struggles with that vulnerability. She attacked Garcelle when Garcelle revealed something about something they had talked about off camera, and Erika thought that it was in confidence, and Garcelle thought that it was up for grabs in terms of talking about things. I think I reacted to that because Erika revealed that she had been talking with her ex-husband, and I hypothesized that Erika is sensitive about revealing that she's been talking to her ex-husband, one, because it implies that she's not strong and that she is still in contact with the enemy, so to speak, and she doesn't like that to be revealed. Or it reveals that maybe they're colluding to have a story to attack the attacks on them, that the two of them are complicit in the crimes and the divorce is all a sham to protect money or something. There's been allegations of that too. There's no way to know one way or the other, really. But anyway, so Sutton is saying, no, I do not want her stink on me. I want to come out strong and say what I think you did was wrong. I think you're guilty. I have questions. And she confronted Erika the other day, and everyone else kind of shied away, and Sutton felt like she was thrown under the bus because she was the only one speaking up in a voice that a few of them were saying that they agreed with. So I think Sutton has a reason to be upset about that. So they have a dinner today, and Sutton wanted to talk with Erika, and she opened by saying, I don't want you to be upset. And Erika said, I don't want to talk with you. I don't care what you think. I have much bigger fish to fry than worrying about your opinion of me. I think that she does care about Sutton's opinion of her, at least kind of. And I think her way of coping typically is to just act strong and just say, I don't care about you. I don't need you. Get away from me. I don't know. They don't give us a lot of data on the show regarding personality, but it seems like it has that to it. Now, if you're Sutton, what I would talk with her about is, well, what's your goal here? Do you consider Erika to be a friend? And what are your worries? I'm guessing that Sutton would say, yeah, I do consider Erika to be a friend. And what I'm worried about is, since I was yelled at earlier in the season and accused of being a racist by Crystal, maybe not that word, but that was the implication. I'm worried that I'm going to get canceled by the internet and I'm never going to have any kind of clout, or I'm going to get kicked off of the show, or everyone's going to hate me. I don't know if that's the truth, but it seems like maybe that's part of it. And which is rational. There's nothing wrong with not wanting to be canceled and not wanting to be hated by everybody. And so she'd say, I'm worried about that. I say, okay, so do you want to preserve the friendship? And she'd probably say, well, maybe. And do you want to avoid being canceled? Yeah. Okay. How do you navigate that? I don't know if Sutton has a very clear path forward with those potentially conflicting needs. Now, for Erika, I would want to know from her, do you want Sutton as a friend? Do you want these people to be your friends? I'm guessing on the first answer I would get from Erika is, I don't need friends. I have bigger fish to fry. I would imagine deep down, though, that Erika does want support and she does want friends, but she has a really hard time admitting that even to herself. And so they are about to have a conversation. And I think that if Erika has every right to say, I feel like you're a bad friend because I'm innocent. I know I'm innocent, and you have questions, even though we're supposed to be friends and you don't have any data or evidence that I'm guilty. And because you're worried that my reputation is going to rub off on you, you're willing to just throw me under the bus. That really hurts my feelings. I thought we were better friends than that. So she can certainly say something like that. For Sutton, she could say something like, I'm terrified. You're like radioactive at this point. And I'm terrified that, because I've been canceled before or something, and I'm worried that if what you've been accused of is even kind of accurate, if I don't say something against that, I feel like I'm being a hypocrite. So I don't know what to do. If you're innocent, Erika, then I am terribly sorry for any implication that you're not. But how am I supposed to know? I can't know. I thought I knew your husband, and now we find out all these horrible things. I thought I knew you, and now we're hearing these, allegations against you. If you did do those things, those are terrible things. If you didn't do those things, then great. But I don't know what to think of. You can have a conversation like that. Let's see what they say.
Derogatory thing to say to me and to my hometown and to all small towns in America. I am very proud of what Christian and I built together. We built it from the ground up, no money. Even though I'm divorced and whatever.
Okay, so I think it's fine that Sutton is saying that it's unfair and uncool to say, to insult me based on coming from a small town. And I think Erika should apologize for that. I think Erika deserves a lot of apologies as well. But on this topic, Erika would say, you know what, you're right. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have insulted you coming from a small town. That's a ridiculous thing to say. Let's see what happens.
This is still a life that I built for myself.
How does my life impact that?
Erika, I thought it was
doesn't.
going to, and it didn't.
You didn't have to go out and get panicked about something that does not even affect you.
Okay, so they're getting to the heart of the matter. She's saying, it doesn't affect you. You don't have to panic. I'm in this alone. This doesn't affect you. Now, and Sutton is saying, I thought it would affect me. So I think they're both okay there, and I hope that they can understand each other as they describe this bit.
Every time an article is written, our names are dragged into it, and you know it. I am not worried about my freaking reputation when it comes to Erika, but there's still so much unknown. Of course, there's a worry inside of you. Could I be subpoenaed? It doesn't make us bad friends if we just want a little reassurance.
Yeah, if you want some reassurance, it doesn't make you bad friends, but to assume guilt and to distance yourself from a friend kind of does make you a bad friend.
There's going to be a day when all of this is behind me, and it's going to be a very sweet day. And I'm going to remember those who were with me, and I'm going to remember those who were against me.
Yeah, actually, I've been with clients as they go through this crucible, if you will, that often it's when someone dies close to you, like your parent or your sibling or something. And for people that go through that, you realize who are your real friends and who are not. Your not real friends will not really reach out, or they'll just do my thoughts and prayers are with you, or let me know if you need anything. The real friends reach out very frequently. They show up, they're there, they care, they ask questions, they create space for the griever to talk about their grief. That's what a real friend does. Now, what's the definition of a real friend? It's hard to know, but I've seen people go through that process and emerge on the other side with a completely different set of friends that they thought were their close friends, were really just kind of like their buddies, which is fine. You have your buddies that you hang out with. But after that process, they learn, those 5 people are really in my corner. They really care about me. They notice me. They see me. That's what a real friend is.
Trust me.
I'm not against you.
Just trust me.
Well, good. I mean,
Just
okay.
trust me on that.
I don't feel like it affects us. I mean,
It does not.
Brock's in the business. He's had people Me Too'd who's been in his movies. It has nothing to do with it.
Isn't it human nature, though, that you would go, does this affect me? Is that not human nature?
No, it isn't.
Really?
Yeah, really.
What?
Yeah, I wish someone would explain a little bit more about why they were concerned instead of just speaking generally about it. If I were Garcelle or one of the others, I might say something to Erika of, look, you're my friend and I stand by you. But I just have to say, I was filled with anxiety late at night. And maybe it was selfish of me. I can't imagine what anxiety you were going through. But I have to say that when I hear lawyers being called and accusations being waged against someone, and I worry, like, is the target going to start targeting me? Are the public going to start looking into my records? Because to be honest, like, I have a lot of records. I have a lot of finances. I have a lot of lawyers and accountants and whatnot. And I'm pretty sure I'm following all the regulations and all the laws and all. I'm doing everything right. But there's a lot of things that I'm involved in, a lot of businesses. I have a lot of employees. I have a lot of history. And I would just rather not have the scrutiny of the law come down on me. And the scrutiny of the law is coming down on you. And I don't know if it was rational or not, but I just started worrying, like, am I going to get targeted with that? I'm pretty sure I'm clean, but you never know. Maybe there's some, I didn't dot or some T I didn't cross or something. And that's what I was worried about. And call me selfish, call me paranoid, but that's what it was. That, I hope that someone says something like that.
Why?
Because why the
Understand, I'm not.
why would you be dragged in?
Oh, don't cry. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is it?
So there it is. Erika is starting to cry. And that's that emotion that should be there, that is natural to be there, but that tough exterior. I don't think she wants to cry. I think she wants to be strong and I'm independent, I'm okay. I wonder even if she believes that if she allows herself to be emotional, then everything will come flying out. I'll talk with clients like that. They'll be like, if I start crying, I'll never stop. And what I say to people is, you probably will stop eventually after all the tears that you need to cry have come out. No one cries forever. You might cry for a year, but that just means you have a backlog of crying that you deserve to cry. You deserve. If it feels like there's a tidal wave of tears behind one tear, that tells you that you're suppressing your emotions. So you deserve to cry, and you deserve a supportive system around you that allows you to cry for a year. There's nothing wrong with crying. I keep saying this. There's nothing wrong with laughing. There's nothing wrong with being sad. There's nothing wrong with crying. There's nothing wrong with yawning. There's nothing wrong with being tired. There's nothing wrong with being happy or joyous or, optimistic. It's all fine. It's human. It's okay to cry.
Isn't it human nature to go, could I be implicated in this? And I think that's natural. I want you to see that. I don't want to hurt you. And I don't like the way you're looking at me right now.
Yeah, so I think Garcelle is explaining it pretty well. And I think what she needs to say for Erika's sake is the fact that I was afraid that what you were going through was going to rub off on me does not make me not want to be your friend. I think that for Erika, this really challenges her insecurities. I think she has an insecurity around being rejected or being seen as unworthy or something. And I think what's happening is that as people are like, whoa, what's going on with her over there? Maybe I need a distance. She's like, screw it, I don't need any of you. Instead of, hey, please don't abandon me in my time of need. And I think that she easily transfers it into that very tough anger.
Now, I'm just saying, just try to understand a little bit. Try to understand. No, come on, don't do that. Don't do that. I'm not here to hurt you.
Why would you act like that? Like, I'm just trying to be kind.
I do not believe
can
there's a
let go of
single
me.
person at this table
You can let go of me.
that doesn't want to see you come out of this.
Yeah, it's interesting. She is obviously suffering. I mean, we've seen that in previous episodes. She has every reason to suffer. Even if she's guilty, we could imagine that her husband was the mastermind behind the fraud, and she was like, well, I guess I'll go along with it. But I think that would be the worst of it in terms of what she's guilty for. And there's a pretty good possibility she knew nothing about any of the things. So anyway, you see the pain. And the reason I believe that we evolved to have water spurt out of our eyes when we're sad is because it's a visual signal so that people can come to our aid, so that the Garcelles of the world will hug and will tend to us and know that we're in pain. So she is signaling that. Her body is betraying her by signaling, I am in pain. And as people reach out, like Garcelle, she says, no, get away from me, don't touch me. I mean, she didn't say it like that, but that's essentially what she's saying. Because she is terrified, I believe, of vulnerability. She's terrified of needing other people. Because I'm guessing she's been traumatized by neglect in the past.
I will do anything you need, anything. But holy when you're reading about the victims and the orphans and that's very hard to digest.
How do you think I feel?
I think you feel exactly like we all feel. I think
No, I feel a lot worse than you do.
Great, this is good. They're having that conversation. I was with Dorit as she's saying, I feel, I'm guessing you feel like I do, and then no, you don't. I feel worse than you do. I'm closer to this than you are. So yeah, I don't think they need to be fighting about this. I think they can absolutely all agree about this.
I feel bad for Erika, absolutely. But what about the victims who had nothing and now have less?
Totally. But as of now, it is not Erika's fault. So you're all in the same boat. You're all, according to what is the evidence right now, all of you in that room have been close to a man who committed terrible fraud and are horrified by it. And Erika is close to it. And Erika probably feels, if she is innocent, ashamed of being associated with him, ashamed she didn't do more. So, they're all on the same page. So I don't know why they have to fight about it.
We've never had an indication that this is on the horizon. I don't believe that you knew most of the things, genuinely.
Then why are you torturing me about her?
How am I torturing you?
All of you.
That's interesting. So, one, I think that Erika is melting down probably all day, every day, given what she's going through. Even if she's guilty, it's just a lot to go through. But if we assume she's innocent, then there's a lot that she's going through. She's going through a very, very tough time, and so she's not going to see things very accurately. But it is interesting that she's using the word torture and that she feels tortured by people. Now, with Sutton, I think she could say that, but with everyone else, I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, especially right now. I think what the friends are hoping for, Dorit in particular, is Erika, give us something. Say something. Say something like, I'm not a part of this. I'm not a part of what my husband did. I want everyone to know that. I guess y'all have questions about it, but you're just gonna have to believe me. I need you right now, and I'm horrified by whatever. I'm guessing if she just said something like that, everyone else would relax a little bit.
Erika, no one's torturing you. Everyone is trying to be here for you.
This doesn't feel like being there for me. Look at me, Dorit. Look at me.
Come on. Look at my life.
It's an interesting presentation from Erika. Is it just stress-induced? Is it... I wonder if she isn't having some kind of traumas emerge right now. Some traumas of martyrdom, of torture, emotional torture, of being abandoned by everyone, of being rejected, of being singled out, being the black sheep, that kind of thing. She seems to exhibit the strong, pained martyr. That there seems to be some kind of past experience that's coming up right now. I'll say that there is some truth to that because some of her friends are and have completely abandoned her, or at least partially. And she's also going through a really rough time.
Put yourselves in this position
Walk in
right
someone's shoes
now.
for a minute.
If we can get to a point of love thy neighbor, love
Oh,
thyself.
this
Yes.
is all such bullshit. I love you, Mr. Renner, but every time I come to one of these events, this gets kicked out of me. For some
So it's possible that Erika showed up at this event and just wanted to not talk about it, which would make total sense. She's just like, I don't want to talk about the legal thing. I just want to relax with my friends. But she didn't say that. And it's natural for them to bring it up. They're also on a reality TV show that I think it sort of compels that they're supposed to talk about these things. So I wonder if that's what's going on.
Something I didn't even do.
Not at all what
Dorit,
anybody...
if you would like to trade places with me,
I
let
don't,
me
my
know.
love. Who would ever want to trade places and live this nightmare?
Why don't you have some compassion for where I am?
It's interesting because I think that Dorit is expressing compassion. She's expressing, of anyone at this table, I think Garcelle was as well, saying, I get what you're going through. I think Dorit, she wants things to be out there. I think Dorit wants, like, she doesn't want any secrets. She doesn't want things to be suppressed. She wants to say things. And I think for Erika, she does not want to talk about things. She wants it to be completely ignored or something. But I just have to wonder if there wasn't any way for the friends to be approved by Erika, because if they ignored it, would Erika feel like they're ignoring it? If they bring it up, is it torturing her? I just wonder, what sort of schema is at play with Erika.
Right now.
I believe we all have compassion.
I'm looking around this table for support.
You have our support, Erika.
Kyle.
Doesn't feel like that, right?
Kyle.
This is about...
Yeah, it's interesting. So as people are, trying to support, she is determined to make it seem like she's a victim of this bullying, this group bullying situation. And it's interesting. She's impervious to evidence. She's impervious to anyone saying, we are on your side. We support you. Now, maybe she's reacting to what was happening the other day. I don't know. But she's clearly in a space. And I think Garcelle has it right of just like, we need to drop this. There's no way that this is going to work out.
Sutton having an honest conversation with you and being honest about the things that she said with us. That's all it was about. That's all it was
I feel like
about.
they should have had a conversation.
I do too.
I don't want to have a conversation.
I understand that, but Erika, I want to know what's being said when I'm not there.
But
when
we've
you're
tried
not
to
there,
get that out of her a million times.
No,
that's not, she's not being honest is what
I've
I'm
seen
saying.
you
And
twice.
she's
There's another possibility that Erika is guilty, at least for some of the allegations. And this is one of the ways that she's dealing with it. Let's just go down that road. I don't think she's guilty. I don't have any evidence, obviously. There's certainly a world in which she was left out completely of all of the fraud and the crime. But let's, live in a hypothetical world where she's guilty for some of it or knew about some of it and is guilty, because she knew. And she is in this space where she is needing to present herself to her friends as if she is innocent and to the television cameras. And sometimes when, it's like when you accuse say someone, a much more mundane, commonplace situation is someone cheats on you and you catch evidence, like you see a text or something and you say, I saw a text, are you cheating on me? And then the cheater comes out strong and says, I can't believe you would accuse me of that. You're always accusing, it's a tactic trying to deflect of, I can't believe you would even question me on that. I can't believe there's something wrong with you. And this certainly fits within that template, right? Of course, I can't know if that's what's happening, but this is a psychology reaction YouTube channel, so I'll say that.
I don't have access to lawsuits before they hit press.
Why is the paper saying that $20 million went into your LLC? I don't think you're a liar. I think that I said this to you. Did your attorneys concoct this? Have you had any kind of discussions with attorneys about the story?
So this question was interesting, and Erika says absolutely not. But you would actually be stupid if you didn't talk with your lawyers and talk about what you're supposed to say to the press. That's a very important thing. When you're innocent, you need to have care about how you speak to the press and what you say, because you could get yourself into trouble or you could accidentally implicate yourself even though you are innocent. So when Sutton asked this question, it was like, have you been talking with lawyers about what your story should be to the public? as if there's something wrong with that. And then for Erika to say no, it's a little suspicious, honestly, because but maybe Erika feels like she can't say yes without people thinking that she's guilty.
I think she's lied. I don't think she's been
About
honest.
what?
And you, yes.
About what?
I'm sorry, Sutton, but you said it. We all have questions, but we also didn't call the meeting and share the same concerns as Sutton. The question is, did Erika know about these things or did she not?
I don't think that ignorance is an excuse.
See, there that is right there. That's ridiculous. Now, if what Sutton is saying, maybe Erika saw signs and chose to be ignorant, and that you could say is not necessarily completely innocent. But not knowing about something, your husband commits a bunch of crimes and hides them from you, doesn't mean you're guilty. But Sutton believes that to be true.
Sutton, everybody had something to say. Why aren't they getting a Dorit?
There cannot be a blind support because I personally have known her for 5 years. And I'm telling you, everything I believed about Erika's life is actually the diametrical opposite.
Oh my God. Why is Sutton becoming the scapegoat for this?
Yeah, that's actually a good word for it, scapegoat. I would hypothesize that Sutton is becoming the scapegoat because she's often the scapegoat, and she is a good candidate. She kind of makes herself the scapegoat sometimes, and that's often how systems work, is that both someone is elected to a role and the person volunteers for it subconsciously. But I think that what's happening whenever we, as systems, as emotional systems, groups of people, we will have certain roles like this for a purpose. And a scapegoat often is in place to divert tension. And so there was a lot of tension around Erika because she was not complying. She was accusing everyone of being bad friends. She's having all these emotions. She won't allow people to take care of her. It seemed like there was no way to win. Erika wasn't listening. There was all this awkwardness, and the group doesn't know what to do. They're not used to this situation where Erika is falling apart but acting strong, and they're not used to that. But they are used to Sutton being the scapegoat, and so the group targeted Sutton. But Sutton made herself an easy target because she did, behind the scenes and in front of Erika, say that she believes that Erika is lying. And so it all makes sense. And so the system is much more comfortable scapegoating Sutton. And Sutton might, and this happens in the systems as well, is the scapegoats sometimes even volunteer themselves subconsciously to be scapegoated for the benefit of the system. So the idea goes is for the scapegoat, for the Suttons of the world, as Erika and the group are rising in tension, the scapegoat says it's preferable for me to be the scapegoat and to have tension, but it'll be a lower level of tension. Right now, there's a lot of tension, but if I scapegoat myself and people scapegoat me, there will still be tension and I'll still be experiencing bad things because people will be yelling at me, but it'll be a net loss of tension based on where we're at right now.
His ankle. The car accident story, which I had never heard.
No one had ever heard.
But you had said, you told everybody that he had broken his foot or something, and that's why.
That's true.
I thought that you lied about the broken foot so that you didn't say about the brain thing. That's where the lie part comes in.
I'm not a liar.
So I think what Sutton and I think a few others were wondering was that Erika there was a accident in the past with her husband, but then as this, I think what they think is this, is that, or they wonder, is that there was an accident in the past, but he didn't have a brain injury. And then these allegations started to come out, and Erika and the lawyers and the husband decided that Erika would distance herself by getting a divorce and maybe even sectioning off some of the money and assets, that they would concoct this story that he had a brain injury when he didn't. And that's possibly what caused him, the ex-husband, to commit all these crimes. And then there'd be some kind of legal way out of this situation. I think that's what they think is happening. Is that possible? Yeah. I mean, couples have done worse things than that when it comes to evading prosecution. Is it likely that Erika did that? I don't know. You let me know. You probably know Erika better than I do. Let me know in the comments. Do you think Erika would do something like that?
Do you know something about my life that I don't? If you do, speak up. I'm very interested to know. Look at me. I'll go head on with you all f***ing day. I'm telling the truth. I am not a liar. You have a lot of f***ing nerve.
Don't talk to me like that.
Or what?
Seriously.
Or what?
Or nothing.
Right.
Yeah, it is quite an allegation to wage on your friend that I think you're lying. And it's not just lying about a little thing. She's being, so in a world where Erika is telling the truth and isn't to blame, isn't guilty, to have your friend say, I don't believe you. I think you are guilty, essentially is what Sutton is saying. Or I think you are shifty in a lot of ways. Yeah, that's pretty hurtful. That's if that's true. If Erika is innocent, then she has a lot of reasons to be angry at Sutton.
Exactly. Shut the up. You have no idea what you're talking about. Nothing.
All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.